Hey guys! I have been wanting to cover this theory ever since I made the Forever Grams video, but life got in the way, so better late than never, right? But yeah, I love theories in general, but the ones that make you stop and go, whoa, are my absolute favorites. And that's why I really love this theory from Fate the Winx, who suggested that maybe there was more to Gram's death than meets the eye, because one of the first things we learn in the show is that good witches follow a Wiccan rede.
A good witch follows a Wiccan rede, and it harm none, do what ye will.
And that they are not allowed to use their powers for personal gain.
We are not supposed to use our powers for our own personal gain. That is what it says in the Book of Shadows.
So when someone does use their powers for personal gain, it comes with consequences.
See, I told you. You can't intentionally use the powers for your own personal gain, remember?
Wiccan rule, right? Prue cast a spell for her own personal gain. Now we have to deal with the fallout.
It's also established in the show that trying to interfere with destiny can have some pretty serious repercussions as well.
This is your path. It's your destiny. Get angry at it, cry about it, but don't fight it, or it'll consume you.
There's a reason behind everything. That's why it's called the grand design.
Destiny always gets its own way.
And since we know that it was always the sisters' destiny to become the Charmed Ones,
before Melinda was burned at the stake, she vowed that each generation of Warren witches would become stronger and stronger, culminating in the arrival of three sisters.
But it's their destiny. It's what they're meant to be.
Who are we to decide that they're meant to be witches?
Who are we to decide that they're not?
it stands to reason that Destiny would not take kindly to anyone trying to interfere with that, which brings us to Grams, because in the pilot episode we see the prophecy fulfilled and the sisters receive their powers and become the Charmed Ones. But it turns out that that wasn't actually the first time they had received their powers, because in the season 1 episode, that 70s episode, we learned that the sisters had actually had their powers as children, but then a warlock named Nicholas attacked their mother, Patty, and tried to steal the sisters' powers. And so to prevent this from happening, Grams bound their powers, and the sisters eventually forgot they were ever witches to begin with.
Here's where we enter a grey area.
Because even though Grams was trying to save her granddaughters from Nicholas, by binding their powers, she was also interfering with their charmed destiny, which is something Destiny has always tried to prevent from happening. So what if Grams' heart condition didn't just happen, but was actually a consequence of interfering with the Charmed One's destiny by binding their powers? Maybe it was even Destiny's way of creating a failsafe to ensure that it had a means of stopping her if she ever tried to interfere again. Because even though Piper mentioned that Grams had a heart condition when they went back to the 70s,
plus she has that heart condition.
They might just mean that they know Grams goes on to develop one in the future. Not that she necessarily had one back then, because she seemed to be doing pretty well. So it would seem that her heart condition developed after that point in time, aka after she had bound her granddaughter's powers. And that very well could be because she had bound her granddaughter's powers. Especially because by the 90s, Grams had started to doubt that her granddaughters were even meant to be witches at all.
I have to stop that from happening.
But it's their destiny. It's what they're meant to be.
Who are we to decide that they're meant to be witches?
Who are we to decide that they're not? This isn't your choice to make.
And the stronger her doubt became, the worse her heart condition got. It's almost as if her own body was trying to warn her of the danger of interfering with Destiny again. I mean, Grams herself said in that episode that
Destiny always gets its own way.
And sure enough, once Grams made up her mind to strip their powers for good, Destiny made sure to stop her before she could follow through with her decision, because she literally has the heart attack that kills her on the way to strip the sisters of their powers for good. Honestly, now that I think about it, maybe Grams even knew what was happening, because right before she leaves the attic with the potion, she says,
"It's now or never."
So maybe she knew that Destiny would try to stop her, and she was trying to get there first? I don't know, maybe it was natural causes, but the fact that every time Grams interfered with her granddaughter's destiny, her health took a turn for the worse definitely makes me wonder. And looking back at the series, some terrible fate always seemed to befall the people that tried to steal their powers, and if you think about it, that would include Patty. She promised her daughter's powers to Nicholas under duress, yes, but she did bless the ring. And in Destiny's eyes, that was a no-go. And guess what? Patty died not 3 years later, because this was March 1975, and she died in February 1978? Yeah, See, I really think that destiny was at play there. A really crappy destiny, but destiny nonetheless. And you know what? It's kind of vague at some places in the show, but don't the elders have some sort of sway over this sort of thing? If so, that would mean they not only had a hand in the Charnwood's grandmother's death, but also their mother's. And I don't care if the elders agreed with what they did or not. That's still pretty messed up, which is pretty par for the course when it comes to the elders, but still. And one last thing I noticed that kind of lends itself towards the idea that there might have been some magical consequences involved was that in the beginning of the video, I mentioned that using magic for personal gain is also something that tends to come with consequences. And we have definitely seen Grams using magic for personal gain, not least of which being Grams' little black book full of spells that she used to use on the sisters when they were kids.
These contain spells I used to use on the girls when they were younger.
You used spells on my daughters?
Oh, every now and then. How else was I going to stop them from misbehaving?
And it's like, yeah, I don't think magical karma felt the same way. But you know what? That's just me. That's just my speculation. What about you? Do you think that Graham's death was natural causes, or do you think there might have been something else at play? Let me know, and once again, thank you so much to Fate the Wings for this suggestion. As always, thank you guys so much for watching, and I hope you have a wonderful day or night wherever you are. Bye!